Participants be advised that this webinar is being recorded. Welcome to FBR Limited's CEO Update webinar. We are joined by FBR's CEO and founder, Mark Pivac. The structure of this webinar session will involve a presentation given by FBR and will be followed by a question and answer session. Participants will remain muted throughout the webinar and will have the opportunity to submit questions via the chat function. And on that note, I will now hand over to Mark Pivac. Mark, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mark Pivac, CEO at FBR. FBR has a lot of opportunity ahead of it, and whilst we've recently been through some turbulent and tough times, I really want to stress that the team we have is really passionate, and the tech we have so good, the market's so big that I really do think that FBR has what it takes to succeed. I'll run through a few things related to our March quarterly and the recent restructure. I also want to look to the future because I'm sure that's what really interests us. Right now, I think it's important that I focus on and deliver some stability to FBR, continuity, and articulate a clear strategy to deliver on our targets and drive efficiency in our business and the construction industry and reduce cost while maintaining capability. I think it almost goes without saying that we need to preserve our core asset, which is IP, and we're also at a point where we need to start generating revenue. FBR's got unique robotic technology and DST to accurately place an object through beams outdoors. Shivers, the CEO, and myself remain committed to driving early revenue, targeting multiple market entry strategies, and finding opportunities globally. We've retained capability to ensure this is achievable. SHI or Samsung Heavy Industries presents a big opportunity. To truly understand the scale of shipbuilding in Korea, you have to visit it. I have. It's massive. From day one, we've talked about opportunities for DST, and this really is a good one that's very likely to happen. The USA is a big opportunity as well. Sure, they've got some political and economic issues right now, but the data I'm seeing suggests the residential housing market is still huge, with plenty of scope for Hadrien robots to service it. One potential partner in CRH decided to not proceed with a fairly complex JV option, but that doesn't mean there isn't a market there and an incredible opportunity for Hadrien and Wall as a Service. We're currently looking at multiple projects with smaller and large builders, developers, and material suppliers. I'm convinced that WASC can be profitable. H3 is still in the USA because we think there's real opportunity for it and many more Hadrien robots there. H4 is being commissioned and we plan to have it delivering commercial Wall as a Service projects in the second half of 2025. We're already in discussions with potential customers building a pipeline of commercial work for H4. Now, as outlined in the quarterly, we've dramatically reduced costs as part of a rationalisation program to focus on revenue opportunities. We've taken an immediate hit with some one-off costs associated with the restructure, but long-term we've reduced our cash burn to around 10 to 12 million per year. And whilst we've dramatically reduced our costs, it was something we had to do, given that we'd scaled up to meet some of the demanding delivery terms of the JV, and we no longer have to do those things, and we can't really justify those big costs without a revenue stream to back it. We have, however, maintained our core capability to operate Hadriens, commission Hadriens, manufacture and support both spare parts and complex machines, develop technology, and complete the SHI development if and when it happens, as well as maintaining our relationship with Liebherr as a potential manufacturing partner in the future. Now, FBR is all about bringing automation efficiency to industries that are still really manual. Our robotic DST solution enables big long booms to work accurately. This is a game changer for the construction industry. We have really talented robotics team with a wide range of engineers, ranging from mechanical to mechatronic, the programming and control systems, and many other skills. FBR also has a skilled and well-equipped workshop. Whilst we have a lot fewer employees than we did a month ago, we've maintained our core production assets and our skills. We actually have an amazing production capability for rapid prototyping and low-rate production of complex systems. In-house, we have trades and CNC machinery for fabrication, machining, painting, electrical and assembly. This workforce and equipment allows FBR to reduce inventory, produce parts on demand, and dramatically reduce lead time during development and also production. Our Hadrien robots have now built over 40 dwellings globally. Our technology has been road tested and is ready for commercial use. The time of demonstration's over and it's time for us to get productive and profitable. This won't happen overnight because building is a complex process and everything has lead times. But we're building pipelines of work and we'll be launching Wall as a Service. The revenue reported in our 4C is not proper Wall as a Service revenue. It's mostly earned from option fees, sale of a house that Hadrien built the walls of, and some demonstration Wall as a Service. For all practical purposes, FBR's pre-revenue, but I aim to change that. Our burn's been reduced from over 34 million per annum to about 10 to 12 million per annum. We intend to start generating revenue and shifting FBR to become cash flow positive. I can't give any guidance on that as it's still early days and I only became CEO about 2 weeks ago. But I'm the founder of FBR and the inventor of DST. I believe in our technology and what it's capable of. What I can say is that previously our strategy was very focused on growth and technology development and proof of concept. FBR was aiming to partner with very big organisations and rapidly go from zero to hero. This hasn't worked out as planned, but I firmly believe that we can generate revenue and show both Wall as a Service and other DST-related opportunities as profitable. Once we prove out those MVP or minimum viable product businesses, we'll have in place the foundations for growth based on proven economics. Our strategy is now very much focused on generating revenue and leveraging the assets we have, both physical and intellectual, and also leveraging our technical capability. To do this, we're building a pipeline of work. This will take time, but will also be worthwhile. Kyle and I are working on multiple market entry opportunities and putting actions in place to make it happen. As I mentioned before, H3 is in the USA. It's currently stored at the CRH facility in Fort Myers, where we were based during the option period. We have that facility on a month-by-month basis. CRH have been quite helpful and I thank them for that. H3 is in the USA on a temporary permit because it's on an Australian spec truck. We have applied for an extension with the EPA and National Highway Transport Safety Administration for it to be able to stay in the USA a bit longer. Now back in Australia, H4 is practically complete and is being commissioned. We do intend to do some upgrades to it based on things we learned in the USA, and we expect to have HO4 out earning its keep in the second half of this year. But please bear in mind, we do have a smaller team than we did before. H1 and 2 have been used for technology development, including a very important demonstration for SHI. I hope to be able to share some of those developments with you soon. Right now, we're looking at how we put H1 and H2 to work in the local Australian market. It's not completely straightforward because they're not as fast or productive as H3 and will depend on large block and some upgrades to make them really commercially profitable. We are assessing the cost benefit of that as an option and I'll report on that as we get some answers. While H1 and 2 have together built over 30 demonstration structures in WA, it was really to showcase the technology rather than to prove out commercial viability. Our next step is to make money with them. We've maintained the ability to operate a Hadrien, manufacture and commission a Hadrien, and carry out work for external parties such as SHI. We have reduced the executive team down as far as we could realistically go. We're relying on external providers for some services. I'm now the CEO and also look after what I used to do as CTO. Kyle's the COO and wears every other hat that needs to be worn. And together, we continue to drive multiple market entry strategies and opportunities globally. FBR's core asset is its IP, and we have over 400 IP rights across 41 patent families with protection in many countries around the world. We do intend to add to this IP portfolio. As part of our cost reduction, we've consolidated 3 premises in WA down to 1 at 88 Sultana Road. That has a good amount of room here with 10,000 square metres of factory space and similar outdoor area. We'll be giving a factory tour on the 13th of May to interested parties who can submit an expression of interest to tour our factory. If you're interested, please send an email to FBR. This will be by invite only and will require an NDA and visitor induction. Now, our aim is to put H3 to work in the USA and H4 to work in Australia. We're of course monitoring the evolving economic situations and we may change plans to suit. H5 is about half built with nearly all of the expensive parts purchased. We don't have the funding or staff to rapidly progress HO5, but we'll work on it as we can. Realistically, it could be ready in mid-2026. We're continually discussing matters with SHI and expect a purchase order for the first part of the work in the next few weeks. As adjacent applications are developed, we do expect to file for additional IP rights. Now, I just want to reiterate a little on demonstrating the commercial viability of Wall as a Service. We have a BD in full-time in the USA. He's targeting launch customers with the aim of developing a pipeline of work big enough to justify the high cost of deploying a team to the USA to train a local team to make it commercially viable. It's a little difficult at the moment due to quite a bit of economic uncertainty during the tariffs and deportations, but we hope that will settle down soon. FBR is talking with a good range of builders, developers and suppliers, from very small who can move quickly to large who can offer a lot of work but typically take a while to make decisions. We're dealing with the complication of building a pipeline of work while we're not yet in a position to do it unless the pipeline of work exists. It's a bit of a catch-22, but we think we'll work through it. We've received a number of expressions of interest from builders to potentially use the Hadrien X. We don't have anyone working full-time on BD in Australia. That's being handled by Kyle and I for the moment. We have some really good leads for work in the second half of this year, and we aim to crystallise them. These leads are in the residential and commercial sectors. As with many things in the building industry, there can be quite big time gaps between bidding for work and getting it, and this is especially true at the start. It's a bridge we've got to cross. Now, I've already mentioned our restructuring. Shannon Robinson has taken on the role of chairperson and has been a big help to me during my transition to the CEO role. She's based in Western Australia. She's been on the board this time around for over a year, and she was previously on the board when FBR listed, and she was instrumental in that process. Richard Grellman remains on the board, and I thank him for his never-ending encouragement, help and wisdom. As mentioned in the quarterly, Reece Walden is appointed as company secretary, and I look forward to working with him. I also thank Aidan for his help on the FBR journey as CFO before Rowan Curran and then as company secretary. Now, I intend to communicate as often as openly as I practically can. I'm sure you all appreciate the ongoing ASX disclosure obligations and materiality thresholds that I'm subject to. I won't always be able to say as much as I would like to, but I will say as much as I can. Now, please keep an eye out for vlogs, webinars and non-deal roadshows and conference attendances. We've also signed up on Investor Hub, which is an online communications platform used by many ASX companies. We're onboarding that now and expect it to go live shortly. Please look out for it and please engage with it and register to be part of the FBR family. It includes a way to ask questions and will help us with announcements, videos and information. I'll be attending Sydney Build next week, right after the EGM on the 7th and 8th of May, and then Australian Manufacturing Week in Melbourne on Friday the 9th of May next week. I'll be catching up with some investors as well while I'm doing that. As I mentioned, we'll have a tour of FBR's facility in Perth in mid-May. We'll also be doing a roadshow in mid to late May, and I look forward to meeting some of you. Our immediate objectives are to win work, reduce capital funding requirements, although we do have some gaps to fill, and clarify the business and engage with investors to meet our ongoing funding requirements. We have some other longer-term revenue objectives, which include licensing our IP suite and realising some adjacent applications such as shipbuilding, automation, roofing installation, solar farm installation, large-scale welding, and refractory brick lining for the steel industry. These are all applications that use DST and long booms, and similar to the bricklaying application, automate dull, dirty, and dangerous tasks that are currently very manual. These are all big applications with big players, so we don't know the timing of any deals that may happen, but of course I'll keep you informed as and when I can. And now we'll go over to some questions. So back to you, Andrew and Kyle.
Thanks, Mark. And obviously, it sounds like there's a lot going on in the business at the moment. So in moving on to the Q&A session, I'll just remind participants that you're able to submit questions via the Zoom chat function. We've had a fair few come through already, Mark. We'll probably go with the one that's on many people's minds. The recent demo program with CRH was obviously, very successful, completing 9 homes and, completing a single home in a day. Would you be able to give some insight as to why CRH didn't exercise the option?
Yeah, look, as Andrew said, that demo program went really well. We demoed building a house in a day with just 3 people, which was one of the major targets of that. But one of the things in all the commercial agreements we enter into, there's confidentiality obligations, and they survive the end of the commercial relationship, even if things don't proceed. So we have to be mindful of that. Having said that, the demonstration program was highly successful, and we got introduced to a lot of different companies over there, builders, shell providers, general contractors, people interested in the financial markets, investors, all sorts of people. During the actual demonstration period, we were subject to an exclusivity clause, so we couldn't actually do any deals. And obviously, it wasn't possible to take any orders because the JV didn't exist at all. And look, while we were doing that, we also did a lot of commercial modeling, and all the information that we took into account there sort of indicates that, we could build a commercially attractive business hitting those metrics. As for why CRH didn't proceed, that's something that they decided not to do. They're a big company. They have their own internal reasons. And, some things we just can't get a clear answer to. Now, all the information that you might need to model all as a service in the US is available in the public domain, and you could probably put your own financial models together. And that shows that if you can build a house with 3 people in a market in the US, you should be able to make money. I'll also point out that H3 is in a CRH facility right now. So, we've clearly got an ongoing relationship. But other than saying that, our machines are stored in their facility, I can't really expand any more on that.
Sure. And thanks for that. We'll go to a live question, actually. If you give me 1 second. This one's from Damon Atkins. Why can't the Hadrien be built on a trailer instead of a truck?
Yeah, look, it probably could. And, we've looked at that. There are some things which have to be provided, such as power and hydraulic power. And when it's on a truck, you get that sort of almost for free, because the truck's got an engine that you can generate hydraulic power from, and, hook up a generator to the PTO. We've also got a nice air-conditioned cab for the operators. But look, it's a really good point, and we have done that. We've sketched out and done some preliminary models of how Hadrien could work on a trailer. You've got to bear in mind that for the size buildings that we're looking at, you need a 30-metre boom or 100 odd feet boom, which makes the trailer reasonably big. So, you'd be looking at a semi-trailer type arrangement. It is possible, there's the possibility that may happen in the future, but it's not something we've got in our product range at the moment.
Thanks for that. That's a pretty insightful there, and thanks for that question. Please keep them coming through. We'll move over to some of the ones that were emailed through. We'll go to, you mentioned you have some strategic advisors. That was obviously prior to you becoming CEO. The question is, what is happening with the advisors you've appointed to assess FBR strategic options? Who are they, and what are they doing?
Yeah, right. Look, we've got advisors in a number of different areas, but I'm guessing this question relates more to the ones mentioned in the corporate update that we put out to the market on 27th of March. Those advisors are in place to generate corporate opportunities and assess inbound inquiries across M&A, IP monetization, capital structures, divestment opportunities, and that sort of thing. As is typical for those agreements, they've got confidentiality clauses, and under the agreement, I'm not able to disclose the name of the advisors. But they've got a broad remit, and given the nature of the subject matter they're in place for, we won't be putting in a timeline on it, but rather assessing each opportunity on its merits and the value that it could create for shareholders.
Great. Thanks for that one. Moving to the next one. How many Hadriens would Liebherr need to start mass manufacturing? Have you considered speaking to other manufacturers?
Yeah, look, we've considered a range of manufacturers, and as you know, we're building and have the ability to build Hadriens here in Perth. We've always maintained that we need to produce at least the first few Hadriens, and practically, if it's only a few a year, then we'll keep doing that. We've got H3 in the US, H4s in commissioning, and H5s in manufacture. We've got plans for subsequent Hadriens and the upgrades that will be incorporated on those, but we're not currently funded to accelerate the completion of any of those. OEMs are looking for bigger numbers. Exactly what that means, we don't know. Probably at least 30 to 100 machines a year. OEMs would love to be building 1,000 machines. Some of the production lines which I've viewed, build 50 machines a day. So, we're a long way short of that. But, as we commercialize Hadrien and prove out the minimum viable product, wall as a service, and prove that it's actually commercially viable and start to get some customers, then we'll assess that, as and when it needs to be assessed. But Liebherr's there, and they're keen to help us, but it does need to be at a scale that's sensible for them, and also a scale that's sensible for us.
Great. Yeah, that was really insightful, actually, and obviously fairly exciting as things kick up there. And sort of moving over to still on DST, but perhaps the exciting alternative use cases for it. Where are negotiations with SHI up to? And you obviously covered a bit of that in the presentation, but who else are you in negotiations with?
Yeah, look, when we start commercial negotiations, probably the first thing that happens is the confidentiality agreement, which, usually, we always have to set up specific carve-outs for us as an ASX listed company, and that does make things a little trickier than they otherwise would be. And, usually we're dealing with organisations that have got a different materiality threshold to us, especially given, that we have been engaging with some of the largest companies in the world. And those carve-outs only go live upon the achievement of certain milestones. And then, then we would have to release an announcement to the ASX informing everyone of the progress. So I can't give any specifics on other parties at the moment, and if and when I do, it'll be via an ASX announcement. And look, we can't give a live commentary about ongoing commercial negotiations, but we'll update the market when there's something to report. We have advised that we're looking at a shipbuilding application with Samsung Heavy Industries, and we've also advised that we're looking into concept designs for a number of other industries, as I mentioned during the webinar. Most of those are with parties that are already in those industries or supply to those industries. And some of them are sort of more general, where we've got perhaps a launch customer for one particular industry, but there'd be many more. For example, large-scale welding is not a problem for one customer. There's hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of, big fabrication firms around the world, which build mining equipment, ships, industrial plant, all sorts of things which are bigger than what you can reach with a standard industrial robot. And our technology's got a lot of advantages over the alternatives, things like cobots or lots of manual welders or robots mounted on big gantries. The whole boom system with dynamic stabilization offers a lot of advantages in those kind of applications where you're looking for automation at a big scale, be it inside or outside.
Excellent. Thanks for that. And I guess moving back to the actual Hadrien X questions come through. Why are you not solely focused on introducing the Hadrien X to the market in its current state? Why are you iterating, and why are you looking at other applications?
Yeah, look, the big iterations of Hadrien X are pretty much done. What we're doing now is continuous improvement, where we're going out in the market, we're finding issues and potential improvements and making it better. We need to have a machine which is reliable and easy to operate. And during the demonstration program, we've been doing a lot of development work. It's a complex machine, and it does an amazing job. It will be unrealistic to expect that, the first time you put it out, that it's a perfect machine. It wasn't, but it's pretty good now. I can tell you that right now. And now is the time for us to really start concentrating on introducing Hadrien X to that commercial market. Up till now, what we've been doing is demonstration work. As far as I'm concerned, that demonstration work is done, and it's time to get commercial with it and establish Wall as a service in a small way, because that's all we're funded to do. But establishing that will overcome a lot of potential resistance to taking on new technology. It's one thing to actually show that your tech works. It's another thing to get out there and make $1 with it. And I think we're at the point now where we're about to do that. Oh, and, I guess the question also asked about other applications. Look, right from the very start of FBR and its listing, investors and myself, the whole company has been interested in what else can we do with this technology. Brick and block laying is just, it's an obvious thing. It's a repetitive task. It's dull, dirty, and dangerous. It's been out there for thousands of years. There's plenty of other tasks like that as well. So, some of those we've been looking at, and some of them we've been approached by other organizations. So, that's why we're looking at them. It's not anything new. We've been doing that for the best part of 10 years.
Great. And I actually remember listing the business with you guys back in 2015, and joining more recently, seeing the Hadrien go from a CGI image to a number of trucks is fantastic to see. Moving over to another question that's come through. Why did Mike vacate the CEO position at such a critical time?
Yeah, look, Mike had recently turned 60, and he was in the position where he knew we'd be reducing our team size fairly significantly. So Mike made the decision to step out of the business with me stepping into the CEO role. I've been by his side for the last 10 years. I'm still in regular contact with Mike. He's happy to assist us with anything we need. As much as anything, it's about having to make the team smaller. I've learned a lot over the last 10 years. I definitely wasn't ready to be CEO of an ASX company, back when we first listed. But I am now. So I'm really looking forward to it.
That's great. And moving over to another question from a shareholder, this one from Stefan. As you roll out Wall as a Service to generate revenue using HO3 and HO4, will you still be open to working with larger groups who can fund mass manufacturing with FBR, taking a smaller or lesser role in the operation of Wall as a Service?
Yeah,
Is it something?
absolutely.
Is
Absolutely.
this something that the strategic partners, strategic advisors would be looking at?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, one of the challenges with new technology, as I've said before, is it'd be nice to go from zero to hero, but the reality is that big organisations have a lot of different approval processes, and they quite often want to acquire a business that's really a going concern and not something that they're going to have to invest in technology and build and develop. So I think us establishing Wall as a Service on a small scale will show that it can be commercially viable. From there, that reduces our dependency on third parties or a big deal, because we've got that possibility of, if and when it becomes profitable, we'll be able to fund it and grow it. But of course, we're open to big partnerships, and I think that'll make it actually easier for a big partner to come on board if they can look at financial statements and see, oh, well, this thing cost so much to operate and it made so much that year. And, we've actually got some financials that we can look at and project out, based on the size of the markets and so on. So I think it's a critical thing, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I think it'll open up a lot of opportunities, which, up until now have been quite difficult. And look, I'm amazed that we got as far as we did without a business that was profitable. So, I'm really looking forward to establishing Wall as a Service as a properly commercial thing, with the double-headed aim of making it profitable, but also attracting partnership and potentially franchise models around the world, or even machine sales. If somebody's going to or an organisation's going to operate a Hadrien in part of the world where it might be difficult to operate, could be a war zone, or could be in a second or third world country, which is got difficult political climate or something. A sale into those sort of markets will be much easier if we've proven that it's commercially viable.
Thanks for that. And that's certainly very interesting, particularly with the varying models that might work in direct sales or operating Wall as a Service profitably. I think that's all we've got time for at the moment. But do you want to give some closing remarks?
Yeah, look, I'm really looking forward to meeting some of you in the future and engaging a bit more with webinars and so on. I think once we get Investor Hub up and running, that'll make it a bit easier for us to do webinars and so on. So if you've got questions, and I don't know if there are any unanswered ones, Andrew, but we'll get to them eventually. So yeah, keep in touch, and I'm really looking forward to moving FBR forwards.